Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Kahlo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pulls on social media.
Hi everyone, on today's episode, Jen explains Quetzalcoatl, the serpent feather god.
Welcome to the show, grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
Wow, let's get into it. I have no knowledge of Quetzalcoatl. I even got it confused with another, I don't say folklore, but another story having to do with Mexico. So I can't wait to get educated on this god.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this episode is continuing our run in May, talking about more Latin American or Mexican or just different like entities and deities that are separate from what we usually talk about, that are very Eurocentric. As much as I love the Greeks, and the Greeks know how to party, the Romans, all that, most of what we focused in part of like deities has been like very Eurocentric. So is this the first time we're touching on a god that's not Eurocentric?
I think so.
Yeah? I don't know what that says about us.
I believe so. Yeah. Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah. And I guess that's a good place to start. So even in your research, it was really, really hard to find like concrete facts, like elements. And that's also part of why we're doing it, to like highlight how big the discrepancy is between representation of like deities and, you know, just literature and education. Like to me, especially because deities aren't real, gods aren't real, like one should not hold more weight over the other. So it's interesting that we have so many facts and so many historians and people who maybe have even written dissertation on like Eurocentric gods, but to find the information for like indigenous gods is a lot more difficult. And since you're the one who did the research, like tell me how difficult it was.
There are some scholars out there, and they're real ones, but not as many sources or easy to read sources. It's definitely a lot of like scholarly works to learn about Quetzalcoatl, and there are still a lot more questions than answers.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it.
Yes. So I'll pronounce it slowly because it is a mouthful. Quetzalcōātl. Quetzalcoatl. So Quetzal, the first part of the word, is a sacred iridescent bird whose feathers at one point to Mesoamerican civilizations were more valuable than gold. And then Coatl meaning serpent. So this is the feathered serpent god.
Mexico has a very rich stockpile, or a very rich natural resource of gold and silver. So I can totally see why they're like, hey, these bird feathers are more valuable, just because like it's more abundant over there. There's whole cities dedicated to the sale and like wholesale market of gold and silver, just because it's a little easier to find in that area.
Yeah, definitely. Mexican gold and silver is so beautiful. I love those markets.
Yeah. So actually, where my family's from, Iguala, I believe it's known for its gold, and then a little town very close called Tasco is like world famous for their silver. And that specific town we visited, I think back in 2015, I picked up a couple silver pieces, but there's a lot of German influence because a lot of like German settlers actually found that little town. I think we're like, oh, there's a lot of good resources here. So it's really cool because it is like a small like indigenous town, but you still see like European influence, which is kind of interesting. And they're super renowned for their silver. Like I think it even has a name. It's called like the Tasco silver, and it has this really interesting black patina to it. So it's like a very unique silver.
Interesting. Yeah. So not just the Aztecs worshipped Quetzalcoatl. All across Mesopotamia, with the Olmecs, the Toltec, and then the Mayans. The Mayans knew Quetzalcoatl as Kukulkan. Yeah, and then many other cultures in Mesoamerica. So he was a very important, if not the most important deity, associated with the wind, Venus, specifically as the morning star.
Venus.
huge representations with Venus. Yeah.
What? So
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to get into that.
Oh yeah. I went on like a whole rabbit hole
Yeah.
about Venus, the Venus associations.
Yeah.
Wisdom, knowledge, creation, priesthood, maize or maize, aka corn.
Which is a huge staple in
Huge.
anything like south of the border.
Yeah. And then the Aztec calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know, like, honestly, like many ancient cultures, there's like multiple deities worshipped. This what is it called when you worship only one god?
Monotheistic.
Yeah, the monotheistic belief is like a very unique sect of spirituality and religion. This guy sounds like the main character, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming it's a comparison to like Zeus, where maybe Zeus was the main dude, but there's like all these surrounding gods, these supporting casts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Except Quetzalcoatl was more like benevolent in nature versus Zeus was not. Zeus was very like self-interest.
Zeus was a fuckboy.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah. The Mesoamerican cosmology is interesting because of how they tell time. So cyclical ages are called suns, and we are in what's called the fifth sun.
I wonder, there's a famous Mexican band called La Quinta Estación, which is like the fifth station. I wonder if that's where they got their name.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to fact check
Yes.
that. But basically, the first 4 rounds of humanity, that was like the first sun, the second sun. So we're the fifth try at having humans, basically.
It's like The Matrix.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Matrix?
No, but I've been meaning to, and I just never make time. Yeah.
So just really quickly, because there's a big parallel. In The Matrix, basically, the computers take over and the machines control us. So every time humanity gets too big, too corrupt, the machines can't control us anymore, they start over. So there's like different reiterations of like life, essentially.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So Quetzalcoatl has a shadow twin / rival called Tezcatlipoca.
Yeah.
Who co-created the current world. So basically they found the world just flooded. So they tear apart a primordial earth monster called Cipactli to form the earth and the sky. They basically like tear it apart. One of them yeets it up and the other one yeets it down. So that's how you get the earth and the sky, by ripping apart this monster that basically flooded and destroyed everything.
It's giving Maui from Moana.
I can see that. So yeah, there's constant tension between light and dark, and Quetzalcoatl is more of the light. Yeah.
Would it be the equivalent of like the God versus Satan almost?
Kind of. Yeah. A little bit. Where
I do think in more of like these less traditional Eurocentric belief systems, it's more about balance, right? It's not necessarily one's good, one's bad. Like you need one and the other can't exist without it. So it's giving more yin yang energy.
Yeah, that's a better way to describe it. Yeah. I was like, I don't know about like evil necessarily, but the Aztec underworld is called Mictlan. So Quetzalcoatl goes to Mictlan to steal bones of past humans and was like, let's try this shit again.
And that's not Milan in Italy, right?
I know, right? No, Mictlan. And then steals the bones. Some of them get broken on the way because obviously they're trying to stop him from leaving the underworld, but he does. So the bones that he has salvaged, he grinds them and then he mixes them with his own blood, and then I think the blood of some other deities, and that creates humanity. So basically, like without Quetzalcoatl's blood and him going to Mictlan, none of this would have been possible, is the origin story.
Of humans. Yeah.
And then there's also a belief that because some of the bones were broken, that's also what makes us different heights. Like if all the bones were intact, we would all be uniform, but because we had little oopsies in the creation, that's why some of us are tall and some of us are short.
So as humans, we were all in hell, essentially.
Again, going back to our underworld episode, the underworld isn't always hell.
Okay, but so in this case, it's the same thing. It's just the underworld.
It's just where the dead go.
Huh. So this is a chicken and egg situation, because if we needed humans harvested in the underworld to make humans, I guess, on the planet, where did those underworld humans come from, right?
Well, again, this is the fifth sun. So they were...
There was remnants of the other ones. Okay, I thought we started over, so it builds on itself. Yeah. So it's bad humans.
Yeah, it was the humans that didn't make it from the fourth sun. And they was like, okay, let's take their bones. Let's try this again.
I see.
Humans 5.0. If that helps, if that helps you think about it.
Does help. Yeah. Humans 5.0 is the best way to put it. Oh my gosh.
So thankfully, Quetzalcoatl was a programmer and was like, I believe in version 5.0. We got this, boys.
The seed funding must have gone crazy. All the angel investors.
Yeah, that's why some of them were like, no, dude, this is a dead project. Why are we trying the fifth sun? Why are we trying 5.0?
Imagine pitching humanity on like Shark Tank or something.
Oh, God.
Hello, sharks. Today, I have the human.
That's basically what Quetzalcoatl did. It's like, the fifth time is charm.
Oh my
Trust me. And
gosh.
everyone was like, no, stop. Humans are never going to happen. Stop trying to make humans happy.
Oh, I feel like the way we're going, we're very close to getting V6. Anyways, I digress.
We'll see if Quetzalcoatl still has any cred left.
Yes. Okay. Anyways.
So yes, he gave the humans life. So indebted to Quetzalcoatl, according to Mesoamerican folklore. He gave the humans fire, corn, the calendar, writing, wisdom, life, all of those things. He's the god who provides. But then unfortunately, he departed at some point, which makes this all the more devastating.
I see an internal note here, and I don't understand it. You said a god wounds himself to make us. The debt is built in from the start?
Yeah.
Is that like original sin, kind of?
Kind of, yeah, where it's like, without this person, you wouldn't be here, so therefore you're indebted to them.
Yeah, and I guess that's why gods are gods, right? They make us, but no god is benevolent.
But not only that, it wasn't just like, que no le costó nada, that it didn't cost him anything. Like, it cost him his time and his own blood.
Yeah.
Versus other gods or other, like, origin stories are just like, boom, there's a human.
Mm-hmm.
And it,
like, let there be light.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden.
Yeah, but, like, Quetzalcoatl had to fight for humans 5.0.
Nice. I have some controversial takes, but I don't want to get canceled.
No worries. So let's talk about the Quetzalcoatl-Venus connection, which was super exciting.
Yes.
So Quetzalcoatl is the morning star, which is when Venus rises before the sun. And Venus...
That's Satan's last name. Mm-hmm. Did you know that?
Wait, which one?
Morning Star.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like Lucifer Morning Star. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
There's connections to that too, yes.
Okay.
But anyway, so Venus disappears and reappears. Sometimes it's a morning star, sometimes it's an evening star because of Venus retrograde.
Yes.
So Venus and the sun move very close together. That's why in astrology, Venus, I think, can only be maximum 1 or 2 signs away from the sun. So you're never going to have Venus opposing the sun because it just doesn't work out cosmically. Because of Venus retrograde, Venus is always going to be at max maybe 2 signs away from the sun, either in front or behind. So this is what makes Venus a morning or evening star depending on where Venus is retrograding.
Okay.
Yeah. So because of that, Venus disappears and reappears cyclically, which also mirrors his myth of leaving and promising to return.
Ah, that's how they got there. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was big associations with Venus, and the Aztecs loved Venus and tracked Venus obsessively because Venus is one of the planets that you can't track with your naked eye.
With the naked eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It wasn't until Uranus and after that you need a telescope and all that jazz. But yes, the Aztecs tracked Venus obsessively because of Venus.
And the Aztecs were really good at astrology, right?
Oh,
they were able to track things in the sky very well. That's like a known thing, so I'm not surprised. They're like, "Yep, this makes sense."
Yeah. They could track things with precision into like the thousands of years later. They knew where things were going to be because astrology and astronomy is cyclical and predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of calling out our name. So the Kythera Collective, or everything we use for Kythera, that was a machine that tracked the cosmos, and it was very accurate. It was super accurate, but that was found off the coast of Greece. So
Yeah.
different people, but same tracking.
And interestingly enough, the Aztecs tracked Venus and its cycles, and it influenced when they declared war.
Really? Yeah.
And Venus, like in pop astrology, is known as just good times and love. And I'll admit that's where my head goes to. But Venus does have some associations with war.
And femininity too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even with modern astrology, because Venus controls gold and resources and abundance, which a lot of wars are fought over.
I think when you think war, like Mars is the
immediately.
key player. So that's why maybe Venus takes a back seat, but there are correlations. And
Mars is like the anger and the aggression that you need for war, but then what is the
logic,
the fuel to the fire? It's resources, abundance, also values. Venus also can rule values and faith sometimes, like all of those things.
This is why we have virgins, because, or you could never go to war. That's also an option that people always forget about, right?
Wait, virgins or versions? What did you say?
I said this is why we're on version 5 of people, because there's a third option, which is don't fucking go to war.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish we had world peace, but that's not happening. But yes, the morning star, the light that comes before the light, because Venus as a morning star is like super duper bright.
Yes.
He promised to return, and it was tied to a specific year, which the way that they keep track is not like January. They have their own names. It's called the One Reed, and very specific. That year was 1519.
Oh, I wonder if anything happened that year.
Yup.
What?
Yup.
Okay.
And it's very complicated.
Yes.
So, Quetzalcoatl was like, "Gotta
okay.
peace out. I will return at this time."
BRB.
Yeah, which a lot of this story also reminds me of Jesus a little bit, because it's like without his blood, humanity wouldn't have been saved.
That's true.
He's leaving us, but he'll come back. He's very beloved.
Yeah, but Homeboy hasn't come back yet, so.
Yeah. Except, Quetzalcoatl was like RSVP this specific
Yes.
time. And Jesus is like, whatever.
Jesus is all on vibes.
It's a surprise. Yeah. So 1519, Hernan Cortés arrived on the coast of Mexico.
Spaniard.
Yeah, it was the One Reed year. And the story that we heard, it's really difficult to prove.
That's what got it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the story I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
let me tell you what I think it is, and then you fill in. So somehow Hernan Cortés caught wind of this legend, right? And basically said, listen, I'm him, right?
I am him.
I am him.
He is me.
Yes, and obviously
I am that guy.
at that point, I think they had gunpowders, they had horses. The horses was a really big one, if I'm understanding my history, because the people were like, what the fuck? They're beasts. They're like gods. They're riding in on horses. They came over on ships. And so they didn't have to fight necessarily. They kind of were just like, listen, I'm God. So I've arrived.
Yeah.
Surprise, shorty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very close. So, yeah.
I don't remember if this was Christopher Columbus or Hernan Cortés. This is definitely going to be a fact check. But I think one of those two guys, essentially to encourage, not even encourage, but their troops or whoever they came with, they burned their ships. So
Like, we're not leaving. You
we're
can't
not
kick us
leaving.
out.
So you need, this was for their own people, for their own Spanish. They said, the person in charge burned the ships and said, you got to conquer these people because there's no way home now.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah. I'm gonna fact check that. I don't know if it was Hernan Cortés, but it was one of the settlers that came.
One of the white
Yes.
colonizers. Okay, got it. So yes, the story that we've heard, Moctezuma II believed that Cortés was Quetzalcoatl returning, and that's why the empire fell.
Yes.
This became the explanation for how a few hundred Spaniards brought down one of the most powerful civilizations in the
Yes.
world. However, historians are very skeptical because history is written by who? The victors.
The victors. Yeah, and it wasn't even a numbers game, right? Disease was probably their best tool.
Yup.
Smallpox, European diseases.
Here's a blanket.
Yeah, here's a blanket. That's probably what helped them more than that.
Yup.
But there always has to be lore and history. I think this is also where the story of the Malinche comes in. Do you know the story of the Malinche? She's the one who essentially is seen as a traitor to her people because she supported, I think, Hernan Cortés. I need to fact check all this shit, but I think that's where that comes from. Over the years, it's been kind of revisited and said like she didn't have an option and she was just surviving. It wasn't that she was a traitor, but I do think that's where like the infamous story of the Malinche comes in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is why we have to talk about these things, because like this is our history and I'm not even super clear on it. So
Yeah. So again, history is written by the victors. So the Spanish was like, write that down.
So basically, the Spanish wanted to make it seem like their people were so superior that it took a small faction of them to basically topple one of the prevalent people and powerhouses of the New World, right?
Yeah. I mean, nobody was there. Maybe Moctezuma was like, oh shit, this is Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
Or maybe, and more likely, it was pressure from the colonizers to be like, rewrite history this way.
Yeah.
Because we're that badass that all of y'all thought we were gods.
No, you know, and it has to be the diseases, because
100%.
world powers sometimes come in like thinking they got like the shit in the back, and they really don't. Like, these people were very smart to live here. They knew the land, they knew the terrain. Mexico is a very hostile place. It's got deserts, it's got plains, it's got mountains, and you're not going to have the home court advantage. It's kind of like what happened in Vietnam. And again, speaking of the victors writing history, we lost Vietnam in the 70s. And it's not because we didn't have the tools. By that point, we had modern armory, guns, and all that. But the Viet Cong knew the terrain, knew the booby traps, knew how to navigate their own land. So we as the U.S. thought, we're going to go in and wipe these like tribal people out. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. So I think it's kind of the same parallel. I'm sure the Aztecs put up a good fight, but you can't outfight, microbiology, essentially.
Yeah. And Moctezuma was not this gullible guy. He was very sophisticated, powerful ruler. He even had intelligence networks.
Yeah. No, that makes scouts and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you touched on it completely, but Moctezuma was basically the emperor of the Aztecs at this time, right?
Yeah. Specifically the second. He more than likely pursued like a diplomatic and then military action, but unfortunately he was outmaneuvered, and then the smallpox, the fucking nasty ass fleas and rats from Europe, and then it wasn't like it was a monolith. It wasn't just the Aztecs. Like, there were other indigenous groups that were like, yeah, fuck those guys. An enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then there were some indigenous peoples that were like, I've had enough of their superior rule, that probably also joined the Spanish to take down the Aztecs.
Now, mind you, Aztecs by this point had developed really intricate societies. They had, I don't know if it was a democracy, but they had society. I mean, they had aqueducts. They had like running fresh water for their people, agriculture. So it wasn't like these were tribal people with like no intelligence and no backing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The history wants to make it seem like they just immediately bowed down, and that's probably not the case.
Yeah. So many thoughts, right? Like, so many things come to mind, and everything. I mean, your maiden name is a direct remnant of this time. Like, your maiden name is Gutierrez. That is not an indigenous name. That's not an Aztec name. That is a Spanish name. And to this day, I'll get on my soapbox a little bit. Sometimes that is why I do have a lot of problems with the venerance of Latinos and Catholicism. Like, modern Latinos and modern Mexicans, it's very ingrained in the culture to like be a good Catholic, and those teachings have been taken as like gospel and word, and it makes it seem like it's always been like that. And like, yeah, of course, like, we're Catholic. Like, no, the remnants of the reason why you're Catholic and are so influenced is because of all this crazy bullshit. Like, you had a great rich culture. Nothing wrong if you believe in Catholicism, but I don't know. It does hurt me a little bit to see like our own people kind of be like, yeah, no, Catholicism is the way. And it's like, yeah, because they came and did all this crazy bullshit.
I know someone that believes that Catholicism is the oldest religion in the world, and I'm like, no. I believe it might be Hinduism. We can fact check that, but it's definitely not Catholicism.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then a lot of folks, unfortunately, in the Mexican American diaspora do say, like, thank goodness for the white man. They're making the race better. And it's just so sad. It's very similar to the Egyptian pyramids, where sometimes people are like, aliens did that. And it's like, you're not giving enough credit to the ancient Egyptians, who were smart people. There is so much, like,
just the internalized racism and xenophobia. I know somebody very close to you has said those things, and it's just like but anyways, we'll touch more on it when we get back from this ad break.
Today's episode is brought to you by us, Kythera Collective. If you've been vibing with the energy of the show, then you're going to love the Kythera Club over on Patreon. It's a space that I built for the cosmic, the curious, and the slightly chaotic. You know who you are. With 3 delicious tiers to choose from, we start with the chocolate level at $4 a month, which gains you access to weekly horoscopes and the exclusive Unhinged podcast, where I say things that don't make it to this main feed. It's sweet, it's spicy, and it's just for you. Next, we have the cafe level at $7 a month. This is where things really start to get cooking. You'll receive access to exclusive workshops, monthly virtual hangouts, and a private Discord community where you can chat directly with me and receive exclusive behind-the-scenes updates. It's magical, cozy, and a little unhinged in the best way. Finally, we have the tequila level. This is the VIP lounge. At $25 a month, you'll receive everything from the previous tiers, plus a personal 15-minute one-on-one session with myself or David each month, and discounts if you want to extend the session. It's a whole vibe and a powerful way to receive personalized guidance. So if you've been laughing along with us, crying, or rage screaming in agreement, come hang out with us at the Kythera Club. Head over to patreon.com/JenCalo and choose your tier. If you want to sponsor an episode and advertise with us, go to our website, www.jencalo.com. All right, now back to the show. Welcome back. We went on a little bit of a tangent on the Spaniards, so let's get back to Quetzalcoatl.
We got a little heated, which is valid. Yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah, I feel the pain of my ancestors. Anyway.
we channeled the fiery rage of Quetzalcoatl.
Yes. So again, Quetzalcoatl was the deity of the priests. So Quetzalcoatl was also supposed to be a role model, remain pure, all of these things. So why did Quetzalcoatl leave humanity in the first place? Because we talked about Quetzalcoatl's associations with Venus coming and going and saying he would come back one day.
So there's always a story to it.
Yes, there's always a story. So basically his shadow twin, the yang to his yin, got him drunk off of pulque.
So do you know what pulque is?
No.
I've
heard of it, but I don't actually remember what it is.
So it's kind of like a more earthy tequila. It comes from the same plant as tequila, the blue agave. So they take what's called the piña, which is the heart of the agave plant, and it's a fermented drink that's not filtered necessarily. So how we get tequila and most spirits is through distillation. You get some sort of corn or grain. It has the sugar. It breaks down. And then you have like the drink, right? So that in itself has alcohol, but to purify it, you distill it into pure alcohol. In this case, the distilled piña or the distilled blue agave is tequila. However, the drink that comes just from like mashing up the blue agave and letting it ferment is pulque. So it's like a creamy drink. I've had it a few times, and you can like flavor it, but it's a little more earthy. It's a little more like not as like refined, obviously, as the tequila. It almost like a sake, I would say, kind of like a creamy sake. But it has a lot of significant influences and ritualistic influences. It's not like tequila where it's just a spirit for libations. Like pulque is used in ceremony, which we should also try when we go to Mexico.
Yeah. So he was coerced to drink pulque to the point of getting drunk. And then he had an older sister named Quetzalcōātl, who was also a celibate priestess, but through the drunkenness, they had sex. And they neglected their religious duties because priests were supposed to be celibate. He woke up from his drunken state.
And it was ancestral, too.
Yeah.
Not just, like, the fact of having sex.
Yeah, so he felt really ashamed for all of the reasons. And he asked his servants to build him, like, an altar type of thing. And then he lit himself on fire.
I laugh a little bit because even when he fucked up and did wrong, he's like, well, the servants can set up the arrangements. Like, sure, I'll sacrifice myself and light myself on fire, but I'll let the common people take care of, like, the hard work.
To Quetzalcoatl's credit or to defend him a little bit, I wonder if it was like, this needs to be like a holy structure and I'm no longer holy.
Oh.
Yeah, like everything I touch will be impure. So to purify and get rid of myself, then, you know, someone else has to do it. So
I also wonder if in the lore, the, like, brother got him drunk to intentionally have him falter from, like, being this pure deity, or it was, like, a bachelor party type situation where his brother's like, let's just get fucked up and whatever happens.
There's so many different variations of the myth that we don't know for sure. It just depends on what version you hear.
Yeah.
But his ashes rose to the sky and then his heart followed, becoming the morning star. So those are the associations.
There is a lot of parallels to Jesus, isn't there? Yeah.
But he promised to come back one day. He's like,
so did Jesus.
Yeah. When I'm in a more pure state, I will come back.
I guess the part where I'm saying, like, died and then rose to the heavens, that's, like, almost word for word. Yeah. Now, I wonder if that's more just, like, a human trope or, like, an archetype and just good storytelling, or... Yeah, it has to be, because there would have been no crossover influence, right? This is continents away and timelines away.
I mean, there are a lot of gods that have the, like, died and resurrected or will be resurrecting trope, all the way back to Mesopotamia.
I think it all stems from the human mind. We're talking about deities and we're talking about gods, but gods are just a human creation. So maybe that's just our own inert feeling of, like, when we die, we want to think that coming back would be the greatest gift. So the only way we can, like, venerate that is to have a god be able to do it. Because the fact that it's a trope across religions, across cultures, across times really says a lot, I think, more to human behavior than it does to, like, gods themselves, right?
I think so. Very interesting. There was a crossover that I was not expecting with the Mormons or the Latter-day Saints movement.
Really?
So, if you know anything about Mormons, they believe that the Garden of Eden was actually in the United States and that Jesus was actually in the United States. It's, like, super interesting.
Yes.
So, it's basically Christianity, but... America.
Yes.
It's really fascinating.
Christianity with a gun.
Yeah. So, because this is a core belief in Mormonism that, like, no, everything actually happened in North America. North America is actually, like, the Holy Land. When a few Mormon scholars read about Quetzalcoatl, and because all of this happened in North America, and again, just like Jesus resurrecting, descending from heaven, and all of these things, it's like, whoa, maybe Quetzalcoatl is Jesus, and they just didn't have a word for Jesus. So there was a very, like, small minority of Latter-day Saints people that were like, Quetzalcoatl was Jesus.
Really?
It's so interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, there is actually a quote that one of the scholars, John Taylor, wrote in 1892. The story of the life of the Mexican divinity Quetzalcoatl closely resembles that of the Savior, so closely indeed that we can come to no other conclusion than that Quetzalcoatl and Christ are the same being. But the history of the former has been handed down to us through an impure source, which has sadly disfigured and perverted the original incidents and teachings of the Savior's life and ministry, because Jesus was also pure. Jesus was also a spiritual leader. Jesus also like descended, shed his own blood for us. Like there are so many.
So right, like you get 90% of it right, but because it's coming through brown mouths, it must be wrong and like essentially tainted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. But the parallels are crazy though. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it is a wild concept to read these parallels and see kind of all the same things. Even with the temptation of like the brother getting him drunk off pulque. Like wasn't Jesus tempted by Satan like multiple times?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, that's part of the story.
Yes.
Yeah. And Jesus did drink wine, so he wasn't like opposed to libations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
so yeah, that was the crossover I was not expecting to read when
the
researching.
Crossover you never expected.
Yeah.
Now we did talk about how Quetzalcoatl is. Does he represent all the elements, or is he more known for like wind elements or certain elements?
Yeah, more known for wind, not all of them.
Okay, and wind. And what did that mean to the people at the time?
Well, he was the feathered serpent, so the wind element is the one most closest to the heavens.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like sky, earth.
Yeah.
What's the difference, between like us and heaven? It's like all this space.
Yeah. I don't know if you found this, and at this point now, these are assumptions. I want to make that very, very clear. The Aztecs are known for their human sacrifices, taking people to the top of pyramids, cutting their hearts out, and giving that as a sacrifice. I wonder if that's who they were sacrificing to, like Quetzalcoatl.
That was the sun god. Quetzalcoatl was not the sun god from my research. But then when I see I saw some Catholic sources on like Quetzalcoatl, just because I was curious if there was any more crossover. And they were like, these savages were sacrificing people to Quetzalcoatl. But when you come from a biased take, it's like you assume everything is the devil. Or like, I don't know, moms that hate video games, everything is a Nintendo, right?
Yes.
So it's like, maybe they weren't sacrificing to Quetzalcoatl, but they didn't care. They just used that name. So I've seen some conflicting things that are like, Quetzalcoatl was very pure, they don't want sacrifices like that. And then I saw other resources that were like, people sacrifice to Quetzalcoatl anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. There's a lot of like missing history and not as much investigation as like, again, into like Eurocentric sort of history and archaeology.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. A couple of years ago, actually, I guess more than 10 years ago, I did witness like traditional indigenous like rituals and dances. It was in Mexico. It was, I believe, in Tecate, which is kind of a border city to the US. And I do remember a lot of the garb was like feathered, and God, it's been so long, but the symbology that's coming to my mind has a lot to do with like feathers and serpents. And now I do wonder like if maybe there was like dancing reverence to him, because if he was more pure and lighthearted and like seems like he was more of the light and happiness, a lot of the traditional dances could be the veneration to him as opposed to the human sacrifices, right? Yeah,
I could see that.
Also with the, again, going back to like these indigenous practices and stuff, colors are super duper important to them.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they took a lot of inspiration from like the feathers and the bright colors, because none of this is bland, which is really cool. You see these traditions, you see these dances, and they're very colorful, they're very intricate. We've talked about gold and silver. Seashells were also used for adoration. So, there's a lot of life to these rituals, right?
And then with one of his origin stories, it's that his mom swallowed an emerald, which is what gives him that like emerald green appearance, which is very interesting. So there's associations with white and green with Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah. And our flag is white, green, and red. Yeah.
And then Quetzalcoatl, I just saw, presides over the west. So yes, the sun god was not Quetzalcoatl, because that would have been the east.
Where it rises, but the sun does set in the west, so it's not like sun setting, that morning star. right? It all
Well,
goes-
morning and evening stars just depending on
it
how
all
you
goes
look
back
at it.
to that visual thing of light. So awesome. Anything else we need to know about Quetzalcoatl?
There was an interesting archaeological sort of take that I saw that in Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl was so important that everybody knew his story. So we're missing a lot of it because his story was common knowledge. It's sort of like if someone wrote a 47-page manual on how to turn on a light switch. It's like, why do we need that? Everyone knows how to do that. Or everyone knows how to flush a toilet.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that complicated. So that's why we're missing so much, because folks just assume
It was part of the daily understanding.
yeah, it's like, of course we know where Quetzalcoatl comes from, but then like 3,000 years later, it's like, oh,
It got lost.
we would like to know his origin story, because there are like 4 different ones and they're all kind of like half discovered.
Yeah.
And a lot of tradition was more verbally spoken than actually written down. So
Story time, dances, rituals, and you wouldn't write it down necessarily. I wonder, like, where in Mexico he's like more celebrated, or if there's like certain holy sites where like, oh, this is the story of like maybe where Quetzalcoatl visited or had his conversations with whomever, right?
yeah, I'm sure there's some of that info out there, but yeah, we'll have to bring it for a fact check.
Yeah. One thing on Quetzalcoatl, I do feel like this is one where the Catholic Church didn't allow these traditions to continue, right? Because there's no festival that mirrors any reverence to Quetzalcoatl.
There's not, but there's a belief that the imagery of the Virgin Mary is like stepping on a snake, which, going back in my mind, I'm like, I don't remember seeing any snakes at the feet of the Virgin Mary.
The symbology that I think you're talking about is the eagle picking up the snake, which is on the Mexican flag. That is the depiction. It's like the cactus leaves with the eagle eating or attacking the snake.
Yes, but I did see some Catholic articles talking about Mary stepping on a snake, and they were talking about how Catholicism basically like got rid of this like Aztec god, like our god is more powerful than your god. But I was like, what are you talking about? Because from the image that I know, the traditional one, it's a little angel with a crescent moon shape holding her up
with the green garb, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, she's stepping on something on that. I believe so. Now, I know there's a symbology of snakes being very associated with Satan, so it could be that parallel of like she's stepping on like the devil and not necessarily the tradition. But I mean, it wouldn't be a hard leap to say like, oh, this is symbolism for like our religion is better than your religion, I believe.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what she's stepping on, because I've been looking at so many images. I'm like, what is she stepping on? I don't see any snakes
Maybe
in there.
not. I could have that wrong then.
But I have seen some articles where people are talking about that, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, this was super interesting. Again, this was more difficult for us. The research, the kind of piecing things together. You did I want to give you your kudos for like extrapolating as much information as you could, because I know this wasn't an easy one. But again, going back to the beginning and coming full circle, that is why it's important that we have these conversations, that we continue to keep these stories alive and share with the public. And now that we have a platform, we're Mexican and we're Latino, so I think it fits a lot easier. But for people who don't know, maybe this is the first time you're hearing of Quetzalcoatl or any of these deities. And I mean, they're just as important as all the Greek and the Roman and, the Eurocentric deities. So we want to make sure we spotlight them.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely.
And that's not even going into the other deities, like Asian deities, African deities, Egyptian deities. I don't know if we'll get there. Maybe we have to be... Well, you always want to be very cautious. I think if we come from it on a historical lens, we could cover them. So I want to encourage us to like step out of that Eurocentric conversation of like, Zeus, Hecate, all those things. Like, we should spread our wings, no pun intended.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. There is so much rich mythology to explore and just see how different cultures explain their origin story of humanity. it's super fascinating.
And there's parallels, right?
Yeah,
like
there's so
they're
many
not
parallels.
so much different from one another. Like, you know, we saw things related to Zeus. We saw things related to Jesus. Like, I'm sure if we, you know, opened up the can of worms and looked at like all the Asian deities, there'd still be parallels there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So on future episode list for sure.
Possibly. Awesome.
TBR, to be researched.
Yes. Well, thank you for doing the research on this again. I know it wasn't easy, so I appreciate you taking the time to educate me and educate our audience. Closing thoughts? Just cool that we touched on this finally. We finally did a deity that was different from what we've been doing. Yeah, anything else?
No, that's all I found on Quetzalcoatl, but I'm sure there's a lot more. It's just not as like TikTokable, if you will.
Yes, we'll make it TikTokable.
We'll try
Yes.
little by little.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky at Giancarlo, or our website giancarlo.com, or our Facebook page Kythera Collective LLC.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen, and hopefully you have a new perspective or you learned something new in this episode.
Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off. Bye.